Hi again, everybody, and welcome to the Gator Tales podcast with Sean Kelley. I'm Sean Kelley, the voice of the Gators, and this is episode number 59. March Madness is upon us. As we get to you with this episode, the Gators are on the eve of departing for Tampa, Florida to begin play in the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament. The Gators have won the regular season SEC championship. They got to the Final Four in the SEC Conference Tournament, and now go after defense of their national championship from a year ago as they get set to begin play on Friday night at 9:25 Eastern Time against either Lehigh or Prairie View A&M. We'll know who the exact opponent is after a Wednesday night game in Dayton, Ohio. For the first time in back-to-back seasons, the Gators are a 1 seed, and so we make program history yet again with this particular group. And now for the third time, the Gators will open the tournament in Tampa. So, in the backyard of the Gators, right in the heart of the congregation, should be a festive atmosphere starting on Friday, with then a win presents a game on Sunday. The bracket is going to be tough. The region is the South, and it will have to go through Houston and possibly take on the Houston Cougars in their hometown in order to get to the Final Four, which will be eventually played in Indianapolis. So as I mentioned, the Gators are a 1 seed. They've won the regular season championship. And now a lot of metrics point to not just backing up their number 1 seed, but the realistic possibility that they can get to that Final Four and win consecutive championships and be the first team to do so since UConn, who was the first to do so since Florida did back in the 2000s. Of course, Thomas Houck continues to garner all kinds of honors, including now most recently third-team All-American, and he'll lead the Gators in with high-scoring efforts lately here from Alex Condon. Ruben Chinyulu's been dynamite. He was the Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC, and on and on and on. I could give you about 400 notes. I'll spare you that, but what I want to do on this episode of the Gator Tales podcast is I want to get a preview of the Gators in the tournament with 2 of the analysts that I worked with during the regular season on radio. Of course, you know Lee Humphrey. He's been with me now a couple of years. He himself a 2-time champ. And this year, we added another former Gator guard to the mix. Humphrey and Hogan also served as one of our radio analysts on the network this season. I got together with both on Wednesday morning prior to the start of the NCAA Tournament, wanted their reflections on the Gators during the season, where they currently sit, and what their prospects are coming up starting on Friday night. So, without further ado, we have an NCAA Gators Tournament preview with 2 Gator greats, Lee Humphrey and Humphrey Hogan, on the Gator Tales podcast. The Gator Tales podcast with Sean Kelley is presented by UF Health. UF Health has locations throughout Florida, including Gainesville, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Leesburg, and the Villages, and we're growing. Compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's our game plan. Visit ufhealth.org to learn more. And now, the podcast designed specifically for the congregation. Humphrey Hogan joins us now, former Gator guard, always a Gator, and obviously an analyst on the Gators Sports Network from Learfield. Brian, the postseason is now fully upon us. And as you full well know, the Gators earned a number 1 seed. They are the 4th 1 seed. They'll begin regional play in Tampa this weekend. And we won't know that opponent until Wednesday night for game 1. But the bottom line is this. It's the South region for the Gators. And after a record of 26-7, Ty Golden and his crew have put together quite the resume and now have a very, very realistic chance to defend their national championship. Your thoughts, first of all, Brian, on the body of work in totality here, from what you saw from the Gators across this season, and perhaps there's some arc of progression here, a trend that you saw develop, maybe especially in conference play, but help us frame up a little bit where the Gators are in your eyes as they begin the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, we talked about it early in the season about teams trying to develop their identity. And they sure developed one, right? We knew going into it, we had some big guys returning that could really do a number on teams. And that remained consistent throughout. We had some guys get highlighted. I mean, Chinaloo putting together those double doubles over and over again was really exciting to watch. But at times, Alex stood up and really put the team on his shoulders. Micah came in and get some really good quality minutes, finding out who those 8 guys were going to be. Were there going to be 9 guys? Were there going to be 7 guys? What's the rotation? So it was really exciting to just see the team grow and mature as the season progressed. And then, Tommy rounds it off, being a big guy that just was consistent, the leader, the one who you could always depend on, either hit the big 3 or drive down the lane on the right side and get an exciting play to finish at the hoop.
If you were asked what this team's superpower is, what would you say this year's team's superpower, is front and center?
Yeah, physicality would be it for me. Toughness, mentally and physically, but you really saw it stand out physically. Sometimes you can't see what's going on behind the scenes and how will teams respond or not. But just physically, the rebounding, the big edge that we had night in, night out, giving guys one shot. And that's what they were going to face. They better knock it down because that's the only shot they're going to get in that possession. Yeah.
When it comes to stopping the basketball, I'm sure you as a former guard must completely understand the security blanket that the Gators front line gives guys like Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee and Urban Klavjer on the perimeter. Will you help our fans understand how that changes one's mindset in guarding the ball up top?
Oh yeah, man, that's probably the second part of our identity is the defense. The players night in, night out knew that you could make a switch, and whether you suddenly were guarding a big guy underneath, you had enough basketball IQ around you that some big guy was going to come and give some help. And it's a we. I think that as I look at the team, these guys collectively are playing defense. And it's not just, hey, man, you let your guy go past you. He got another layup. It's on you, guard. It's no. He tries to come through the middle. We're going to punish him. We're not going to let him get to the basket, and then we're going to make it tough on him if he tries to dish somewhere. The perimeter defense by our big guys, that's the one I think really separates us. You see so many 6'10", 6'9", 7-foot guys, and there's no chance they have of putting a stop to the 6'3" guard, the 6-footer that's trying to go around you, or he's going to get his shot off. And night in, night out, those guys stood up and played really tough defense on the perimeter whenever a big guy got switched onto the guard. And it made you feel comfortable as a player, knowing, hey, if a switch happens, I'm going to take a big guy underneath the basket. The big guy's going to guard on the perimeter, and then I'm going to have help underneath. That's unique.
Offensively, yeah, it truly is. It truly is. And there are some other teams in the field that possess some of those same things. Michigan comes to mind, Arizona with Koa Pete. We'll get more into the bracket in a minute. I want to turn to the offensive side of the floor. And Brian, you touched on this kind of in your broad view of this team, but it is somewhat mysterious in the sense that this team averaged over 85 points a game, but yet at times, including in the SEC tournament, and certainly what you and I witnessed early in the season, perimeter shooting has dipped at different spots in the season. Any concerns about this team scoring in a variety of ways, or are you ready to rely on the fact that this team, won double-digit games in a row, did so by 20 plus a game? Help me kind of start to kind of like get into that tangled pile and start pulling the threads that matter out.
Yeah, well said. The thread that matters to me is the consistency of the guard play. When we went on that run, there were nights where Xavier was the leading scorer, and we had 6 turnovers or 8 turnovers. And there were nights when Boogie, stepped up and was the leading scorer and knocked down some threes. But we had some plays there where we would get a little bit out of our sorts, and we'd be guard heavy, and we weren't able to knock down the shot. And we'd have a run where we took some perimeter shots, and since we weren't consistent with it, we'd go on a 3, 5, 6 minute run where we weren't scoring. And that made it difficult. Those games we struggled in. And that's what we got to hope we can stay away from right this time. I thought whenever we go downhill and the guards are trying to get inside, 12 feet or take it to the basket, we had a lot of success with that. And I hope we're able to, get that style of play back on our boards as we get started here in the tournament.
When the Gators have lost their games, and I guess, obviously the most recent one and the one that fans are thinking about the most is what happened at the SEC tournament against Vanderbilt. Am I short-sighted in saying, Brian, that there are two things? One, take care of the basketball, the high turnover rate, and two, and that's hit three-point shots. Can I put losses for the Gators this year into that one little box, or am I being, silly?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Other than early on, the UConn and Arizona game, I don't know if those stood out as much. I'd have to go back and look at the stats. You might be able to know them right off the top of your head. But those two games, we were fighting for rebounds a little bit tougher than we were other games. But they were games where we clearly were the physical, the rebound, the defense was there, and knocking down shots was the difference maker. But yeah, I would say we probably had 3, if not 4 of those losses. We could say we had too many turnovers and not knocking down the shots. And when you're against a team like Vanderbilt, who were just lights out that night, you have to give up one area of the game. All right, let's let the bigs shoot threes, and let them stick where they're at, and they're going to shoot 20%. And whenever they shoot 66%, the same as the guards, you're like, daggone, that's part of the game. You just can't. You just have put your hands up in the air and go, all right, we did the best we could.
Yeah, it sure felt that way against Vanderbilt in the SEC tournament. In a lot of ways, I feel like the Commodores played the perfect game, and there is potentially a rematch between these two coming again. Brian, I don't know necessarily that Vanderbilt can play that well. I mean, they were 50, 50, 90 shooting, 50% from the field, 50% or better from three, and 90% at the line. No disrespect to Vanderbilt, but man, that'd be hard to duplicate for them again.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was a once a season game for them or anyone.
No doubt. No doubt. Yet, you have this gap now between the loss on Saturday against Vanderbilt and a very late Friday night tip-off in round 1 of the NCAA tournament. I'll be curious a little bit to see how Todd Golden and the team handle this break. Essentially no midweek game. You only get one of those weeks, during the regular season. In your eyes, the value of rest versus, cleaning up things that plagued them in the last couple of games.
Yeah.
How do you think Todd Golden balances that?
Being my first year of being an analyst with you, Sean, this was really an eye opener. I didn't realize the quality of coaching staff that we had. You take it for granted. You always think it's all about the players when you're a fan. And behind the scenes, not knowing how well the guys were being coached up was really an eye opener, getting to see it firsthand. And I really have a lot of confidence in what the coaches are going to put together during this week of layoff, and then as they prep for round 2, round 3. I say that because I listened to your interview you had with Coach after the game in Vandy, and Coach mentioned that maybe they went a little bit less physical during the break before the Friday game. They had a good break there after the Kentucky win. And if you recall, he said, look, we were letting guys' legs rest, right? And I think the coach maybe at that time was like, all right, that's the time I'm going to let them rest. Let's get back after it physical. Hopefully they had some real competitive practices. I think the guys respond to that. It just seems like it. And I could see them coming out with a lot of momentum, a lot of excitement about getting to play in the tournament. And hopefully we get back that physical play and really put it to some guys here in the first round in Tampa.
It's interesting. The Gators did not suffer consecutive losses at all last year, and only one time this year. And you got to go back to at Duke on December the 2nd, and then at MSG against UConn on December the 9th. That's it. Otherwise, everything else was a single standing loss, if you will. Now, obviously, the stakes are higher here. If the Gators lose 2 in a row, the season's over. But they're coming off of a loss. Go back to what you just said about the coaching and the preparation. How hard is that for a team to to make sure that they don't put back-to-back losses, next to each other. And obviously, again, the stakes are higher right now, but
Yeah.
that, you as a former player, you as an observer of the game itself, I got to imagine that's probably more rare and unique than one would probably, give credence to.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're having a run with some big guys who are at playing in the talent level we have and playing at the level we did this year, you're not going to put many back-to-back losses together, right? But we're not at the point where, hey, it's one and done. I'm really excited about the game plan that we put together for each team, and I know these guys will set themselves apart when it comes to other coaching staffs and get the players ready to play. So I know those flights home are no fun. I'm sure it wasn't coming back from Nashville, and you have the quiet bus, you have the quiet plane flight. So you're in your head the entire time, running plays through like, oh man, if I could have just, not made that turnover, if I just would have, stepped in front of that player and maybe slowed him down so we could have defended the play better. And you're just, you're going to see it the next day in film. And I'm sure the coaches went through where we missed our opportunities and get ready for this week.
We're joined now by one of our fellow broadcasters on the Gator Sports Network from Learfield, and that is another member of our rotating cast of analysts. And everyone knows Lee Humphrey, not only from our broadcast, but obviously, just like Brian Hogan, he himself is a former Gator guard and two-time national champ. Lee, Brian and I have been talking about, kind of where the Gators stand at this point in the season. Brian reflected back a bit on the regular season and what we glean from, that body of work going into the NCAA tournament. You were with me, Lee, in Nashville for the two most recent games. I'm curious as to what you took away from the way the Gators played in the NCAA tournament. In the SEC tournament, and how it translates now into the big tournament.
Well, Sean, good morning, Brian. Sean,
good morning.
It's good to see you both. I'm trying to bring back some memories from last year's tournament run with this background. You know how well we played, or the wins we snuck out in San Francisco. But we've got to get back on track, Sean. I think Nashville, we didn't look like ourselves, in my opinion. I felt like we didn't play the same way we had during our win streak to close out the SEC regular season. And if anything, maybe it's a bit of a wake-up call for our guys, or at least a chance for them to find their groove again. And we've got some time this week to get back and get right for Friday.
Yeah, Lee, I do appreciate the San Francisco background on your Zoom here. This is very nice. Lee, I asked Brian, and I'm going to ask you the same question. When the Gators win, it's because of what? And when the Gators lose, it's because of what?
You want to take it first, Brian, or you want me to jump in?
I asked Brian that, so I'm asking now, Lee, for you, and we'll compare and contrast from Brian's answer to yours.
Okay, I think when we win, we're able to play our style. We're able to dominate on the glass. We're able to defend the rim, get stops, and then get out and run and transition. We're best when we're playing fast. And when we're playing fast, that means we're getting stops, we're getting rebounds, and that's going to lead to good offense for us. When we have to play more in the half court, it's tougher. Our guys' strengths are creativity and being able to really play on the fly, and we need to do that.
It's interesting, Lee, you said play fast. I'm going to pose this question to both of you because I agree with you. When the Gators play fast, and that includes making teams pay even after a made shot. Todd Golden said something interesting this week. He said he felt like against Vanderbilt, at times his team looked rushed. So what's the difference between being rushed or rushing through your stuff and playing fast? They almost contradict each other in some way. And Brian, you can start.
Yeah, what jumps out to mind whenever he says that was our play at the top of the key offensively. And whenever we're coming across that screen that we set so well with one of the big guys on one of the guards, they really did a good job on the defensive end for the big guys to jump out and push that guard closer to the half court mark. And I felt like then, since it sort of took us out of a rhythm a little bit, and sometimes they would double team us up really high on the top of the court, we would then try to hurry and get back into some offensive set that was a little bit unusual for us. That's the first thing that comes to mind. So therefore, we're sort of playing on our heels and we're not playing comfortably. You're going to take some shots that are going to be a little bit hurried. You're going to make some decisions and turnovers on some chancy passes. That's what comes to mind.
I think that's a great observation, Brian. I think that's where Vandy had a lot of success defensively against us, was denying the high post entry pass out of the horns look and pushing us out farther on the floor. Sean, to me, the difference really playing fast and playing rushed is when we're playing fast, we're still looking to attack and be aggressive towards the basket. And we're doing it in a way when we have an advantage on the offensive end because we've beat the other team down the floor or the other team is on their heels. So we have a really good opportunity to get to the basket first or look for an open shot in transition or put the defense into a rotation. But when we're rushed in the half court, I'll say, or is exactly what Brian was talking about. It's where we're getting pushed out of our set or we're not executing well. Maybe the post touches aren't as clean or as deep because of the pressure. So it's letting the defense dictate a bit more than we want.
That's well said. High level stuff there, guys. Let's talk about the games upcoming here and start to separate a couple of, I guess, key factors. Obviously, we've talked about taking care of the basketball, dominating the glass, all things that have proven to be successful for the Gators this year. If we're talking about individual players, guys, it's easy to take a stat sheet and say, well, your best scorer has to be your best scorer, et cetera, right? Or Ruben Chinyelu, when he gets a double-double, this team is undefeated. Which players, with that mindset, which players have to be big for the Gators over these next couple of weeks?
Go ahead, Lee.
All right, so let's see. I think, we need Tommy and Alex to really be – I think our bigs, especially these first two rounds, if they can dominate the glass and we can play the style we want, I think that'll be that keeps the floor of our team very high. And I think that's most important for us to get through the first and second rounds. I think our guard play has been really good through SEC play. SEC tournament, the whole team, I felt like, took a little bit of a step down from the quality that they've had. So I think most important for me, the first two rounds is just us playing our style, dominating the glass, protecting the rim, and really being a force defensively, and offense will take care of itself. So I want our four bigs to kind of show up and dominate in the paint. We've been strong there all year, and let's continue to be strong there. And then from the guard standpoint, just taking care of the ball. We didn't take care of the ball in Nashville. We were averaging 16 turnovers per game in those two games. And during the course of our 12-game win streak, I think we were about 20-10 assist to turnover ratio, somewhere in that ballpark.
Brian, what about for you?
Yeah, well said, Lee. The big guys have remained consistent, I think, throughout the season. And the guards, if we have that consistent play that they had here, games 25 through 30, we had some good runs with those guys, especially that if we play that well out the guard play, then we're going to be really tough to beat. So we sort of identify ourselves with the big guys, that defense, that tenacity, keeping the rim protected. But if you can play with the guards and they step up their game like we saw them do for a good portion of the latter half of the season, then we're going to be tough to beat.
And Brian, really, the rotation for Todd Golden is 8 players. So, you're not going to have a whole lot of choices. But my question to you is there a player in that rotation that truly could be an X factor, if I can use a cliche, for the Gators here over the next couple of rounds?
Yeah, I mean, all three of them could be. I love Micah, I love Isaiah, I love Urban. So, but Isaiah is the one that I don't know. He had a couple games. I think he had 16 one night, maybe had 12 another. If he could hit a couple of those deep threes against Vanderbilt, there could have been a little bit of momentum change. It picks up the starters. They know that, hey, we're getting some good relief from this, 12, 15 minutes we're going to get from the guy behind me. I'd love to pick out one. Urban's been so consistent throughout, sixth man of the year in the SEC. Him knocking down threes, it made you make you think of Lee, and the way Lee just consistently was the guy that could knock down a three if you left him open. So it would be exciting if Urban could get that Lee Humphreys momentum here and finish off the year and become an analyst one day and take over my position.
That could be a long time from now, Brian. We both know that. But in the immediacy, right. I like the way you're going with this. Lee, it would be wonderful if the Gators rip through this thing like they did in conference play, and that's winning by double figures, never really being threatened. But you and I both know better. Obviously, against very good competition early in this season, 1-2 possession type games. Lee, you and I were together during the tournament run last year, and it was nip and tuck. Obviously, in several cases, the championship game, Texas Tech, all of them really, except for maybe rounds 1 and 2. So, with that being said, Lee, I've just now made you the coach of the Gators for the next 2 minutes. You have to get one shot. You have to have one scoring possession. Who do you want to have the ball in hand?
Wow. Okay. One scoring possession.
Yeah, you got to get a bucket to win.
I would love to get Alex a touch in the low post if the game is 2 points or less. If not, probably putting Xavier and Tommy in some kind of pick and roll and letting them operate. Those would be the two options. I do think Alex is one of our most skilled individual one-on-one creators. So getting him a touch in the paint and letting him make a decision if a double team comes for a kick out three or just go one-on-one, I'll probably take that option.
Okay. In the time we have left remaining, gentlemen, let's talk about the road here to Indianapolis. On Friday night, Florida's going to face either Lehigh or Prairie View A&M. As we mentioned, we'll find that out on Wednesday night. In round 2, which would be on Sunday, it's either Clemson or Iowa. And if the Gators were able to clear the Tigers or the Hawkeyes, then potentially you're probably, if we're going chalk here, Vanderbilt or Nebraska, then to get to the Sweet 16 and put yourself in Houston in weekend number 2. How much have you been able to look at the bracket, potential matchups, your thoughts on the road ahead here for the Gators? And Brian, we'll start with you.
Yeah, obviously the first one jumps out, as you just said it, that Vanderbilt matchup. If they can be clean in the way they play, then it'll be exciting to have that third game against them. Since we each bested each other throughout the season, we matched up. I don't know a lot about Clemson, Iowa, Nebraska. It'll be unknowns to me for that point.
Lee, what have you looked at?
The other game, I guess, that really sticks out is the chance to play Houston in the Elite Eight. I don't know how, it sounds, you would think it'd be a huge home court advantage for Houston. Maybe it ends up that way, but I remember last year in the Final Four, the Gator fans really traveled and we had a huge turnout for that game. So it'd be interesting to see what the dynamics look like. The teams do know each other very well. I felt like we won the championship last year and we didn't play our best game. And there was probably a lot of places where the coaches could look and say, like, hey, if we did this, I just felt like there was a few times during the game, if we made a play here or play there, we create a little bit of separation. Instead, we're fighting from behind a bit in that game. So that game would be really interesting to see how we play versus the way we played them last year. I like our chances in that game, to be honest. But the Vandy game too, I had circled because Vandy has played us tough all year. I mean, it was hard to win at Vandy. That game was really high scoring. We played completely opposite in Nashville the second time, didn't play well at all. Vandy played lights out. And Nebraska started out the year super hot. One of the last teams to lose to get a loss. So either way, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's interesting. Nebraska has never had an NCAA tournament win. And so they would achieve that milestone by beating Troy in round one. And then that would set them up with either Vanderbilt or McNeese before, obviously, we talk about getting to the Sweet 16. This will be the third time, gentlemen, that the Gators have opened the tournament in Tampa. One went just fine, one not so much. How important is it, you think, for the Gators here to be able to begin this road 2 hours from Gainesville?
Yeah, big advantage, right? Lee, you went to several tournaments. I was in one tournament and we got beat out in Dallas. So not so comfortable for me. But talk a little bit about that, Lee. You have a better advantage point.
I think it's great to start in Florida. We started one of our runs in Jacksonville, and it was awesome to have pretty much 2 home games. There'll be a ton of Gators at the gym. There'll be a lot of energy. The guys should feel loose and be able to play with confidence. And it's just a quick bus ride for the guys. So I think it's great we're starting in Florida.
Guys, have you looked at the rest of the field and the other regions, and what thoughts have you had here since Selection Sunday about, whether it be the other number 1 seeds or a region in particular in the tournament?
I'll jump on that. Go ahead, Lee.
You go, Brian. Go ahead.
Mine was, I thought you hit it before I did about Houston. I just thought they had an easier route coming into, facing us and trying to repeat. They got a bunch of freshmen that they've replaced some of their studs that they had from last year. So I thought, man, that looks like a little bit easier come in to the bracket as a 2 seed. But otherwise, the outstanding teams, they were there all year. Duke looks strong. Arizona looks strong. UConn fell off a little bit. So it'll be, I think, a great tournament. Michigan got beat the other day. They've looked strong all year. So I think there's some teams that are vulnerable. And I think if we play the way we can play, then we've really got a good chance to make a nice run.
I haven't focused as much on the other regions, to be honest, Sean. I did watch the Michigan game. Thought it was pretty interesting. Purdue played well. And I think that it's that game. And then last night, stayed up to watch the Texas game. I don't know if you saw the end of it, but it was an incredible game. Texas and North Carolina State, the shot making the last 3 minutes was fantastic. And it's a little bit of foreshadowing, I think, for the quality of the tournament. I think the NCAA across the board, there's a lot of great teams and the level of play is really high. And you can see that in the shot making across the board. So I'm just curious. I love the first and second weekend. There's going to be a ton of games. I'm hoping for some really close ones. And I think fans are going to be pretty happy with the quality and the level of play.
Now, Brian, you, of course, are at the top of Hogan Smith Law in Orlando, and you're a hoop head like Lee and myself. Yeah. I am curious, in your world, how much leeway do you give yourself and your employees about watching the games that Lee just described on Thursday and Friday during this week?
Plenty of leeway. Plenty of leeway. I watched some of that UMBC Howard game, and then that was too late for me. I was conked out during the Texas game.
And Lee, you've got your own kids on spring break this week, and obviously you have a real world job, as I like to describe it sometimes as well. How much hooky is involved for you as a HR professional?
This year was very fortunate. Spring break all week, so I don't have to worry about. And I took some time off. I took the whole week off of work, so I don't have to worry about missing out on any games. There's going to be a lot of basketball played. The boys already have their brackets filled out. They're ready to go. They're going to compete in the family brackets. They love this time of year. We'll print them out, and we do old school. We'll cross through them with the red marker, circle with the green, and they'll tally up their points like there's no computer involved.
This is why I love you guys very much. And look, I am so grateful to have both of you as my analysts, but At the core of things, Brian and Lee, you are former Gator players. You wore the Gators basketball jersey, and obviously, Todd Golden wins the championship last year, and you already have sensed the excitement around another potential run this year. From the standpoint of being former players, alumni of this program, what does it mean to you guys to see the Gators basketball program in the position it is currently under Todd Golden?
Yeah, how exciting, right? Really an honor to be sitting courtside. Lee letting me fill in some games and being next to you, Sean, just making it such an easy opportunity to enjoy the games and also give our viewpoint as a former player. It's been really an honor this year, so thank you for that, both of you. As a player watching Coach Golden take the program to where it's at, just really exciting. Young guy, puts great staff behind him, and they each are working their tails off to give us the best product every night. And we got players who love wearing the orange and blue. They really respond well to the fans. They love obviously competing. So to see that back is really exciting.
I agree 100%, Brian. And I just love how much joy the guys play with. They look like they're having fun on the floor. We play one of the most fun styles of basketball you can watch. I think the guys play super hard every night. Some teams and a lot of fans are going to come into a game wondering what team is going to show up. Our guys bring the effort every night, and they play extremely unselfish. And I think, too, as former players, Brian and myself, we're a part of one of the best basketball programs in the history of college basketball, in my opinion. I mean, 3 national championships, all pretty recent, a ton of success, a lot of Final Fours. The way that Florida basketball is trending and the way that we played in the past, we're both part of something special.
I can't thank you both enough for your observations, obviously your work during the season and your fellowship. Gentlemen, it's time to embrace the madness, and I hope that you enjoy very much watching a couple consecutive weekends involving the Florida Gators. I know all of us are wishing that upon this year's group, and enjoy the heck out of this. It all starts, and yes, Brian, you'll have to stay up late on Friday night. 9:25 Eastern time is the tip for game 1.
All right, I'll get ready for that. Can't wait to hear you too.
Lee, I'll see you in Tampa.
See you in Tampa. Thanks, Sean. Good to see you, Brian.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks, guys.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that preview, that conversation with Brian Hogan and Lee Humphrey. Certainly enjoyed working with both of those guys all during the season. Lee Humphrey will be on the broadcast with us starting Friday night in the NCAA Tournament. I can't help myself. Here are a couple of more notes before I let you go. The Gators are led by a trio of all SEC front court players. This was the strength of the team. Thomas Houck, Alex Connon, Ruben Chinyelu. In 33 games, one of the trio has led or co-led Florida in scoring 24 times and in rebounding 30 times. And the Gators, yes, did lose their most recent outing against Vanderbilt, but prior to that, the 12-game win streak in which the Gators outshot their opponents 51.1% to 38.3% from the field and 35.7% from three-point range to their opponents' 29.6%. And in that win streak, the Gators' average margin of victory was over 20 points. All those things certainly bolster confidence, don't they? But then again, we also know what the tournament run was like last year, a nail-biter for sure at times. The madness begins on Friday night. Thanks again to Brian Hogan and, of course, Lee Humphrey. We want to thank you as well for all your support, and we'll be talking to you from Tampa and then hopefully Houston, and then it's on to Indianapolis for maybe another Final Four appearance. Until next time, I'm Sean Kelley. So long for just a while. As always, go Gators, and thanks for listening to the Gator Tales podcast with Sean Kelley.